All right, we are on live. So, welcome everyone. Probably no one in the chats yet, which is just fine. I'm Bel Bagay, member of the BAIO, Black African Infrastructure Organization. And I have two guests with me today. One will be coming on a little bit later. Our guest now is Kata. So what we are going to be talking about is basically what the BAIO is, what it stands for, how do we get involved, what's our role in it, and really whatever the ladies want to talk about. Which actually, I'm not sure if there's a lot of noise. Kat, do you hear a lot of noise? But there's a lot of noise behind me, around me. So I don't know if it's
Only
like
when you talk.
it sounds okay.
Yeah, only when you talk we hear the noise, but when you're not talking, we don't hear anything.
Oh, okay. Hold on, let me turn one of them at least. There's like disruption going on. All right, is that a little bit better?
No, it's yeah,
There's
we
still,
can
yeah,
still
there's
hear
like
you.
a bulldozer going down the street. They
Yeah, we can still hear you. It's fine.
all right, yeah. So they're working on some builds next door. But yeah, so the BAIO basically is a social network. This organization is stands for all of land infrastructure and nationhood off of the North American continent and on the African continent for Black people. The Black people can control their own socioeconomic and political power, so they can have that. As of now and throughout history, our history, we've never had that, especially not here in the U.S. So,
Definitely.
Kata, tell me a little bit. Yeah, what's going on with you? How did you get started? How did you hear about it? What made you want to join? What set this all in motion for you?
Well, I'm a mother of three sons. So lately, within the last year, I have been, well, not the last year. Of course, a lot of things have been happening in America and throughout the world, but just it has caused me to pay attention, to detail because I was asleep. And so within the last year, I've just been doing a lot of research. I'm watching a lot of videos, and I've been like, man, like, how can I empower my sons as black males? And so I just was, so that is what has driven me to this point right here to say, okay, it has to be something bigger. It has to be something because I felt like my hands were tied. I go to work, I'm surrounded by a whole bunch of white men and women who hold their titles, position, and their race, above your head. And they want you to know that, not by what they say, but the way they
The way they
behave.
right.
Definitely. And so just in every area, I've just been watching, going to the airport, you flying, you coming back and forth from different states in America. And I've been paying attention, talking to my grandmother who was in her 80s, and a lot of my ancestors who are still here, just asking questions. And I've been paying attention to a lot of things that we don't talk about in our homes,
Mm-hmm.
and things that were not instilled in me in my home that would have caused me to probably have taken a different path in life and paid a little bit more attention. And so I've been trying to instill that into my children, like pay attention when you're at school. And I've been taking more steps in my home as far as carving out more time for my children to study, for me to not only give them time to study science, math, and the literature in their school, but doing my own research and giving them more education that I think they need. Every moment to me is a teaching moment when it comes to my sons. I don't care if it's a commercial or they watching a movie, I will stop it. Like, you seen that commercial? How many black people did you see? And I use those because I don't want them to think that I'm just talking. So one day and I've been meeting, a lot of wonderful people from the continent, and
Right.
just
Hold
observing
on,
some things with that also.
hold on for a second. Enoch, thank you. Welcome to the chat. So right now we got Kata talking, and then I'm going to switch over to you, and she's just giving her intro and how she learned about BAIO and what motivated her to look towards a nationhood.
Right. And so I was looking to him and I was, hi, Queen. Yes.
All right, go ahead, keep going, Kata.
Yeah, so yeah, and so I was talking to him, and so one day my head was hurting, and I'm like, who can I talk to about these things that I've been observing? And I kind of felt like my hands were tied behind my back because I didn't know what to do here. Like, okay, yeah, I'm working, I'm saving, I'm trying to get my credit right. You're doing all of those things, right? But then still there comes a point to where you like, this is still, it doesn't feel like there's still a solution. And so I was watching Dynas one time. I don't know how I even ran across his page, and I watched a couple of his videos, and then one day he was doing a live stream with Halep, and I was watching it and I was like, oh, and it was just everything that they were talking about. I was like, okay, like this is what I'm talking about. And he um and
This is
he
the plan.
commented about the
It works.
uh,
I was like, the plan. Yep, it works. It makes sense. Don't do
right. And I'm like, okay, I was trying to find somebody who was speaking my language, but you find them, but then they run into a wall of, yeah, but it's not all like that, and it's like,
it.
okay, see, I can't do the fakeness. We just got to stay real. So, and then when I heard that, I came home and I played it. He said something about the BAIO, and from that moment on, I had went on ahead and linked up, and here I am. And I played that live stream for my children, my sons. I wanted them to hear it, and I wanted them to know that this is not a conversation that just mom is having. So yeah, that's how I linked up, and here I am.
That's what's up. Well, thank you. Thank you. We're so happy to have you.
Yeah,
And I've only been on with the organization for 2 months now, but I am very happy with it. And it's just so enlightening, so empowering.
definitely.
And, y'all want to see happen with like every fiber of my being. I'm like, I need to put everything into making this happen because this is
Right.
exactly what we need. But now go ahead. You can give us a little bit about yourself and what brought you to the BIO. How were you introduced to it?
Peace and blessings. Both of you, Sister
Ooh.
Bell, and to meet you.
And
The
Katha.
other sister, but sister was nice to meet you. BAI 12 years ago when I was living in the Gambia. It's wonderful to speak with everybody. Enile.
Mm-hmm.
And so yeah, anyway, I was living in I had her and wanted to actually have my in a safe. And I had told myself after having 3 children here in the U.S. that I was going to birth, and I was not going to have my baby in a bureaucracy anymore. So that inspired me to actually want to Africa.
Wow.
I do a lot of work in healthcare. Drove me to this whole Africa repatriation movement. I knew that I was not safe. It was almost like a natural feeling that each time I would have, each time I would be pregnant, it was a feeling. So on my 3rd child, I said, okay, I'd like to go visit, and I want to see, what it's negative things, but I knew those things were not true.
Mm-hmm.
And so I went and I stayed about 3 weeks. I met some other repats, and I kind of met some people that I kind of had met over the internet. A good experience, enough so comfortable. I felt it was for me to actually move there, and my family. My husband was kind of agreed to come back and forth, and he asked me how long I wanted to stay, and I said, well, we'll just starters, And so I stayed. When I went, I was 7 months pregnant. I gave birth. I stayed months. But to make a long story short, I definitely felt peace, amount of being able to just, and even though there was this, because we are different as far as our culture and the way I view things, the fear was not there.
Right.
And so I connected with the other sister when she talked about the level of point. I was convinced. Say when I joined the BIB there, I could clearly see a need for us to have protection under the law, some type of nation to on our behalf something that was hospital owned design there because it's our birthright. So I joined, and I think it's a wonderful cause. I think it's needed. I think it's due. And I think that nationhood needs to start. And I think it's very important for our Black sisters to get involved because our safety is at stake. And so every day that we stay here, we're building up this system that's down. That's one thing. And then feeding your children to this machine. You're giving it and you're feeding your children to it. And so I was a little nervous before, so I was that's basically why I joined, because I saw something on the data. I think that we could actually help to build Africa. So I think it's important that we explore this, know that we're in to have our own nation, and that missing part to help be great again, if I can use that term. And to the floor, just the introduction that I'd like to give.
All right, and now, sorry, I had you on mute for a second. I had to mute my background, but thank you for all of that. I really appreciate that. And I think it's really, really cool you ended up in Gambia and went there and brought your family there, and they got to experience that. Like that's priceless. Because there's so many of us who haven't stepped foot on a continent yet, and a lot of us die never seeing it. So it's definitely an experience that's priceless right there. So I was introduced to the same thing through Dinah's show. And to be honest, I'm not even sure how I ended up on Dinah's show to begin with. I think I was looking I saw a girl who's doing a video in Tanzania, and she was just traveling, and she made a good point, and it just stuck with me. And it was a very obvious point too. She was just like, why should we travel to these European places and these, all these, like going to like the Greek islands and Italy and all these friends. She's like, all those places that don't even appreciate Black people. She's like, come to Africa and you'll be appreciated. It's empowering to see your own, doing their own thing. And so from there, I was like, oh my God, she is so right. That's exactly what I want to do. And from there, I started just looking at a bunch of videos. And at some point, I ran into Dinah's video and I heard Kala speak first. And he was just going on and on and on. He knew a lot of about Liberia, so I was caught up in that. And he mentioned the BIO. I can't remember if I joined at that moment, but I was just like, okay, this brother is pretty knowledgeable. He knows what he's talking about. And then I caught a live stream with Holup on Dinah's show, and I was like, oh my God, like this brother's just speaking the truth, 110%. So, and after that, I did join, and then like just being on the site, seeing a bunch of people who think like us, who want the same thing, who want to leave here, who want to control their economy, want to control the cities they live in, want to have control over the land and the developing culture that comes from that land. So I was like, yes, this is what I need to be around. And it was just so positive. So, and that's what stuck with me. So that's how I ended up there. But like you lady said, like with all of what's going on, and in my situation, it's different because I don't have children, but I want to have children. And I was telling my sister, I'm like, I feel like I'm asking for too much if I, say I just don't want my child to feel, marginalized because of their race, or don't want to have to experience racism. Like I that's what I want, and I feel like it's asking for too much as a Black person, and that just really saddened me. That broke my heart. So I was like, okay, I need to go where we're at least the dominant population, we're the dominant culture, and just make this work somehow, because this is ridiculous what's going on in this country, and seeing every day there's something else. Like it's to the point like these police calls on Black people for everyday stuff is just beyond ridiculous. And I'm really thinking there's a second agenda going on.
Yeah.
I don't understand that at all. I just heard a story yesterday that a police was called for a hard foul, for a white man and a black man was playing basketball at a gym. I can't remember which state this in, but I'm sure it's easily searchable on the internet. But basically, um, the I guess the white guy was playing defense, and the black guy, charged him, to get his shot, and they ended up calling the police. And then, of course, in the police call, they played it. The person who worked at the gym basically said one of our members was assaulted. So I was like, oh my God. Oh my, like this is ridiculous. Like, so you just setting it up to get him in trouble. And to make matters worse, at the end, like the police came and was just like, all right, obviously this is BS. Let it go. But the worst thing out of that, in the end, they continue to play. So I was like, I don't know who's more crazy. Like, I was like, how could you continue to stay on the court knowing that they did that to you? Like as a black person, like leave. Like what's wrong with us? And it breaks my heart to hear these things and see these things. And I'm like, to what end? To what end is this gonna go? Like I don't know what's gonna happen, but I'm like, this can't be good. What is this, set up for? So yeah, that's what I was like, what, to be in the BAIO around people who are just all for land infrastructure and nationhood. I was like, that's exactly what we need. They're all for us controlling our environment, controlling our economy, letting us have the political power. And I was like, that's exactly what we need. This is what I need. I need to build off of this North American continent and go to the land of my ancestors and be there. So that's my spiel of it. It's pretty quick.
I agree, and that's where my mind has been for the longest. I was thinking about just looking at everything in my house, all the everything that I buy. It says made in China, made in Thailand, made everywhere.
Oh my God, yes.
Like,
They
okay,
make
so
everything.
yeah, so right, and now it's like you hear people talking about the continent and this and that. I'm like, well, I'm sure that this is a place where you can build manufacturing companies and we can make our own product, because a lot of people throughout America, we're told get education and get a job, which means we are still going to them to get a job, right? And then they say,
Absolutely.
okay, get a business and then get the product in your business, right? So then we're buying a product from someone else. But then I was thinking, like, okay, so if you can actually just make your product and everything that you use, your money would be going back into the land, right? And when I don't know, one of the gentlemen made um, that comment, like China had their own land and they were able to take from America and build their land, and I'm like, that makes all the sense,
Absolutely.
because you're not going to be able to do that here
No, no.
successfully. Definitely not.
That's never going to happen. I mean, at best, and I mean, it would take people organizing for one, and like they say, like there is no we. Unfortunately, we're so divided amongst each other. Like I'm like, yeah, there's a lot of work to be done. A lot
And
of
yeah,
it.
and that's where the nationhood portion comes in at, and you know what I'm saying. And we have
Absolutely.
to learn that, and not even just here. It's a global issue. What we
Yeah,
are facing as Black or Africans globally, because the foundation has been laid by the Europeans. That I don't care what race it is or what continent you go on, when they see us, they do not see the best in us, and it's like
absolutely.
that has already been laid, and ultimately when I see different stories, I know it's not all bad in Africa, but there is a lot to be done. My heart is torn because that's me, and whether anybody wants to, so I'm not African, I am, and some of my family, of course, they don't want to agree with that. It's like I am. And when I see that, my heart is torn. I have had moments where I see those things and I'm like, okay, well, if we don't care to help, how can we look at another person with another color skin and expect that they will genuinely care to help build that continent? If the people, there are not doing it, and then here we are on the outside looking in, that our hearts is not in tune to the point to say, look, we need this, they need this, and this is the only way that we will get out of this sinkhole.
Right.
So
Absolutely.
yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
You
I
want to.
totally agree with that. Yeah, I was just gonna say, we have a responsibility to take up our birthright. This
Come
is
on.
our God-given birthright that we're
Mhm.
referring to here. I think some people they don't see it that way, but it's true. Are not getting better because we're really not thinking rationally. And if this exists existence, a evil video game. I don't know what it is. Every day, aggressive stuff like the sister talked about at work, calling silly things, hoping you don't get pulled over by the cops while you're in work, being insulted, at the grocery, on and on. And really, even though those things they hurt, those are small things compared to what our ancestors and our parents had to endure. They were hurt, they had their body parts trophied and things like. I think that at this point, we have all the proof that we need. We should be trying to convince anyone. It's just a matter of us figuring out how we can begin to our resources just yet, because we have to get to know what it is serious enough where we do have to kind of start to trust one another, no matter any other groups you may have been in, didn't do right by you or whatever, which is the case. I know Brother Dawood talked about that. I was very impressed when he spoke about that. I also had some backgrounds with certain groups. They promised you everything and but you really didn't get anything in the end. But we have to give the Nationhood, try to come together. Like I was telling the sister earlier, have our culture, have our code of conduct, and build something better. Started. I think we should do that. Lastly, I just wanted to say this, people are, they think about it in a very emotional way, but it's not bad to go home. Our ancestors, if they had a better place to go, they probably would have went and didn't know.
I'm sure they would have went for sure.
That's real.
Yeah, go. In some cases, they physically could not go. Maybe they're, after slavery or whatever, the boat, there weren't planes. I don't know, but we had options, and that was one of the ways I ran into dying for that, because I was huge. I was 240 pounds pregnant, and I was like, I want to find out the best airlines to Africa, because I knew it was like a 14-hour. And so I ran up on one of his videos that talked about the different flights and what they were. And so it's not hard, folks. We need to get our passports and start to explore and people to come onto the BA and start to see what it's about for yourself and what that, and just take it from there.
Right.
Absolutely. No, that's my same sentiment. I can't believe you did this how far along were you again when you decided to go?
I visited when I was like months, and then I went back, and I knew before 7.5, 8 months, or they won. So I think I was like almost 8 months, sister. Another story I can tell you, it was rough. I'm talking, I settled in, and some of the things I learned, I earned a few dollars here and there, but yes, I did. I wanted to I had an excellent with a nurse at my home, and I had a good experience with that birth. I felt free. There was my baby, somebody trying to tell me what to do with my baby. My husband was there. The children were there. Really nice, a very spiritual time, and I'm happy to have had my baby there. And I'll say that we had to wait until my son got his passport. We had to documentation to the U.S. Embassy, and we had to prove U.S. citizen process, and it took months, and it cost money. We couldn't just leave when we were ready to leave, and we couldn't just come to having identification, asking and paying as well. So there's a process,
Right.
and process another time.
Oh wow. I mean that's amazing that you did it. I don't know if I would have been able to do that at 8 months, but more power to you. That just goes to show how the will, the strength, everything, and how determined you were for sure to go there and like making this
I
happen.
was determined.
That's what's going on. That's what's up. But yeah, so other than that, in terms of profession, and I know I spoke to you a little bit, you know, you're a nurse, right?
I work in the healthcare field. Yes,
Okay.
I'm a nurse.
Okay, that's
Yes,
right. I didn't know that.
I am a nurse.
Okay,
Yes.
no, we can keep it very vague and not be specific. And
Yes.
Kata, you work in
I
was it
prefer
hospitality?
that.
That's fine. That's fine. Kata, you work in hospitality or management, was it?
No, I work in I have a couple of different fields, but yes, hospitality. You can just say that.
Okay. Okay.
Hmm.
That's what's up. Like, did you have any ideas of like going to the continent, what you wanted to do there, or like, or transition into something else, or whatever floats your boat down that realm?
Mm, more so, no, not really. I'm kind of in transition, so I have a strong urge to just teach the younger
Okay.
generation. So it's like right now I'm not into that, but the more I learn and things like, even my oldest son says it, like, yeah, mom, I think that you will definitely have a lot to give, you know. So I'm kind of in transitioning, um, going back to school.
Well,
But
for
yeah,
sure. I mean,
whatever I do over here, I can do over there because I do a couple of different things. You know, I can do, a lot of things. So yeah.
yeah,
But
no,
yes,
no,
definitely. Everything I am here, I'm taking it there, and I'm also a type of person like, oh, you need somebody there. Oh, okay, don't worry about that. You know, if I have to go to school or learn whatever or do whatever, I'm one of those type of people too. So
how do
yeah.
your kids feel about going over there?
How do I feel?
Oh, your kids feel about going over there?
Excited. Yeah, my oldest son, he was like, Mom, I think we'll be okay. I said, I think so too. You know, because I just explained to them that it'll be different. You know, it's not what we're used to. You know, and I just explained to them that a lot of things out here that we're used to are not necessarily healthy, and it's not necessarily good, and so they were just like, okay. So, my sons, they're all for it. You know, they look at their mom, they just like, okay, so they're excited. They look forward to it, especially after I explain to them what's going on in America and all the different things that are going on. They're young, they're only 13, 6, and 7, so their little minds are not
Right.
they don't understand like that. But ultimately, they're excited about seeing something new.
Yeah, seeing something different, seeing a majority of people who look like them. That's what's
Hmm.
up. That's what I talk to my nieces and nephews a lot, and tell them about it. One of my nephews is all for it. He's like, "We need to be there now. I don't want to be here anymore," because he's
Yeah.
been he
I know that's real.
like this little kid is such an old soul. I want to say he's like 9 or 10. But my sister told me, she's like, oh my God, he reads up on all this stuff. He is so caught up in like
Hmm.
he's becoming already like a little activist against police
Right.
brutality. So she's like, I'm trying to keep him under control so nothing happens to him. But like like he's really fired up about all this mess. So he's just like, we need to go.
The
And
ancestors
he
have summoned him. Okay.
it did. He was just like, we don't belong here. We just don't. That's what it is, Mom. We don't belong here and we need to go.
Yeah.
I was just like, oh my gosh. So I was like, all right. And she's all for it too. She's like, hell yeah. Like she works in the healthcare field too. She's like, yeah. And she's like, I'm gonna do what I need to do, get their passports. And me and her got ours already. And thankfully my mom instilled that in us when we were really young, getting our passports early. But she's like, I'm gonna get their stuff together and we're out. Like I'm not doing this anymore. So I can't
Mhm.
blame her because she was put in a position like of course everyone with sons and black kids period trying to explain to them how to interact with the police and hoping they survive that interaction. It's
Oh God.
ridiculous.
There
I'm
is
like,
no right way. So it's like, how do you do
there
that?
is no right way. And I'm like, oh my God, it's ridiculous.
That's no right way.
And
Right. Just
and it
paint your
gets
skin
so
white, bleach your skin. Like, well, there is no right way.
right. I mean, even but like the features will stand out, and it's like, oh, are you mocking us now? Like it'll turn into something bad real quick. I'm like, this is
Crazy.
insane. Like I'm like, how is it asking for too much just for asking these
Yeah.
little things that that other people just get naturally. Other groups of people, so it's just like this is crazy. We need like this place wasn't for. It's never been for us. And
And we say this place, but you know what? I would just want to point out it's a global issue. I was looking at one of the sisters from France. I can't think of her name, but she's an activist. She had Angela Davis on her show. She was asking her some questions. I guess a guy got murdered out there 2 years ago or something like that.
wow,
And so you see her doing the same thing, and I'm like, okay, like this has to happen because this is not just an American issue. It's not like it needs to be something for the people who belong to that land. You know what I'm saying? Because we're everywhere and we belong there. And that's why we deal with the different things that we deal with. And it's like, of course, we talking about America because that's where I'm from. But even just, I think I'm grateful for the internet. You just can
mhm,
see
absolutely.
the, the different things that are going on around the world. And that is giving me such a burning desire to where it's like, no, it has to be something more. I will not, even if I don't see it in my lifetime, I will not take my last breath saying that you sat there and did nothing and my ancestors died for me,
Mhm,
knowing that they would never live to see it, but it never stopped them from fighting. How dare we sit
absolutely.
down 2018, like, my sister said, we are not even dealing with half of the things that they have went through. And how dare we sit down and say that this is it?
Hmm.
Not at all.
Absolutely. And not to
Not at
mention,
all.
I'm like the ancestors who
Well,
made it here through the Middle Passage. I'm like, those are the strongest anyway, because so many of them died along that way. So many. I mean, they were like put in at the bottom of the boat, like caged up like animals. Some that's just stacked on top of each other. Some women were given birth, they bleeding to death. It's insane. So I'm like,
Right.
so the ones who
And
survived,
so many died, but think
it's
about
the
the
same.
resilience. The
yeah, they're
resilience of
resilient,
those that lived. Like it's like you lived with all of those images in your mind, and
right?
you still raised the
And you
people and
have
children that still fight, that
exactly.
kept fighting. You know?
Like their mind didn't break. Any like this day and age, no one can survive that kind of level of trauma. But their mind didn't break. They kept fighting. So I'm like, oh
And
no, no,
it's
no.
in us.
Lay
It's in
down and
us too.
die. This is crazy.
Yeah, seriously. Seriously.
But yeah.
Well, I'll say something about what the sister was saying that it's a global problem. I'll tell you now, we've got a long way to go. We are talking about nationhood, but we haven't for centuries and say thousands of years during these power negotiations and things like that in upside down condition. So we get to Africa quicker, we can start to help with the continent, because the truth
Definitely.
is, like the sister said, over there there's so many different things going on.
Mm,
Lebanese, Indians, but the black African having wealth in Gambia. Now, some rich Gambians, I'm not saying that they're not. The stores, most of the stores were owned by foreigners, tiny wages to the people, like bandits. So I guess what I'm saying is that we need to help our sisters and brothers over
Yes,
there
we do.
clean up their, because there is a problem with managing those resources.
mm-hmm.
They're
Hmm.
given still, and they have a leadership problem. I
Oh,
Definitely.
mean, we have, but I think a lot of ours comes from, I would say, fear. Talk about these issues. We
yeah.
know who our enemy is. Most of us are not
Come on
looking to
now.
bleach our skin.
Hmm.
Yeah, to put weave in and do this is because it's easy to just get up this morning, throw a wig on, but we don't want to do that. We want to be Black. We want to be, and so I would say that we've got a planet to put back in check. And that's, I don't want to go too much off on a tangent, but it's really serious because until we take our proper role, everyone's going to suffer.
That's right.
Everybody's
we all are suffering. We all are suffering to some extent. No matter what country you are in, if your skin is Black, you are suffering to some extent. I don't care if you do buy you a house and get some money, because when you get in that boardroom or in your office, you're reminded that you are Black in some way or another. I don't care if it's a look. I don't care if it's the way they position themselves, the way they talk to you. It's something to where yep, I'm Black.
Yep, that nigga moment comes. That's what I call it. I don't like to use that word, but it comes.
That's
real. Like
but you are definitely right. And that's what I'm saying. Like, it is going to take that to build that up, and it is a leadership problem. But we have to understand the leaders have foreign help also. So we got the Black leaders in front, but they're really not controlling it. Really, we want to say that they're there because we see a Black face, but ultimately you have France over there, you have America. Look, America just went over there to Sudan. Now you want to come over, and you know what I'm saying? It's like, okay, now what is this for? What are you going to gain out of this? It's always them going to get something. I seen one of the African leaders from Ghana, and when he said what he said to the French president, I was like, okay. Well, they are waking up. I just seen that Ethiopia and Eritrea just open back up their ties. So it's gonna
they just link back up or something like that.
Yeah, it's gonna. Yeah, they just had their first flight yesterday, but it's gonna take for them to start building it up. But just like we are waking up and we are like, okay, something has to give. I think that it's something God is doing in all of us, and it's gonna be all right. Or for those who don't believe in God.
Yeah, right. I mean, you know
Whatever,
what?
anything. My own intuition. How about that? My intuition. We all have it, and I think it's waking up. And
Now,
a lot of us are
I'm
feeling
really happy you
oppression
said
and pressure.
I'm really happy you said that for like those who, if you believe in God and if you don't believe, because that is one of the things about the BAIO that I love. And not to say that I don't believe
Right.
in God. Of course, I believe there's a higher power, but it's just so many groups. I'm like, they have atheists and agnostics. They have, if you're Christian, if they have, if you're part of Nation of Islam, it's just so many groups, and it doesn't matter. Basically, the message they're saying is, doesn't matter what you quantify yourself as or put yourself, in whatever category. Basically, the bottom line is we're all Black and we need our own nation.
Right.
Like, it doesn't matter. Male,
Whatever, Big Bang Theory, whatever. It's
yeah,
like
like
it's not about that, and we get so sidetracked as Black people. It's like we let every little thing distract us and divide us. I don't understand how what God you believe in can make you ignore the bigger issue at hand, and we do that so much. We get distracted. Oh, you live over there, I'm from over here. Even with a lot of Africans and Black African Americans. I'm not African, I'm Black. Oh yeah, they don't like us, and some of the Africans do the same thing. It's like, okay, look. Okay, those are minor things.
right.
Let's focus on the bigger picture. And a lot of times we get distracted. So, of course, I did not mean to say that, either way.
No.
But I'm just saying, it's like
Well,
you
I'm
want to
gonna
remove
tell you.
distractions.
Go ahead. Go ahead,
I'm gonna
Ina.
tell you from now the Gambia. They would call it a dictatorship, but like it was more of a. I liked it. I thought he was running it was safe. Hey, I could walk out certain times in the evening. I wasn't whistled at. No cat calls. I mean, I felt safe. But you would see the military part of the country. They would stand out with roadblocks and guns. I wasn't worried because they weren't checking for me,
Okay.
so to speak.
That's nice.
And so, yeah, I wasn't there.
Beautiful.
And so I guess, it's no fun when the rabbits got the gun,
Yeah.
but these people, they're solely checking for us. And so just like she said, the universe, and I just say the universe, to get into, factions like she talked about. But
Right.
the universe is going to start to pull us together, those
Yes.
of us of like mind,
Mm-hmm.
and we're going to have to work together. Like I told the sister, at the BAI Nationhood, I will tell you, there were fees associated with coming there really aren't fair for us, as just straight immigrants, as opposed to like returnees. So there are some protections you don't have. There's a lot, but by and large, the Africans, they're not looking to kill us. They're
Right.
Right.
not looking to
It's a
one
big
way or the
difference.
other. So whatever little small petty kind of thing have is something like you may have with your cousin.
Right.
Right.
Have a cousin that you just don't understand, something like that. At the worst, it's like, but over here, these people, they want our souls.
Oh my
Yeah.
goodness.
They want, and that's why you see so many of our people have lost their mind. They've gone insane. Mental health is a problem because they're taking from us the day. They're taking our with our family structures, divisive things that they're doing with these gender wars. There's so many things that
Oh my
they're
goodness.
doing that strike to the heart of the black
Yes.
family.
Oh my goodness.
Okay,
Yes.
it's
Yes.
a
Yes,
different
it does.
somebody wanting to destroy you versus some little petty beefs that can be squashed just by sitting down and actually talking to that person. I would just say that we don't even, hey, we're safer on that African energy that we put into trying to fix this country. I'm not even going to
Put it
use
over
it
here.
and
Right.
explain it. Trying to fix this country, we use our energy. I mean, we've got to stop it. That energy, this system, this energy into trying to build something where we don't have to worry about somebody our sandcastle as soon as we try to do something done to us here. Gosh, all of those
Mhm.
things,
Absolutely.
we work to if we stay here.
Yep, you're absolutely right.
Mhm.
Yeah, and I want to reply to something when you said like just the gender wars and all that nonsense, and it completely is nonsense. That nothing bothers me more than seeing that play out where it's black men versus black women, and just attacking each other. And I'm looking at it like neither one of you win at the end of this. Like
Right.
they're literally setting it up so you can tear each other to pieces. And then what, you're just going to go your separate ways. So what does that do for the next generation? What does that do for the black community? How does this help us as a whole? But people,
And
like
even
before, get caught up in their emotions and feelings, and then they just run with it. And I'm like, this is so toxic to our community, and we already have enough problems. Like, we have to take control back and do that. The best way is, to be honest, is get out of here. This is not our culture that we built. It was a culture that was designed by this land that we do not control. What they did to us throughout history has helped shape what we are today, and this is not who we were
Mhm.
meant to be.
And the
Being
same
and
with
constantly being a sense of labor. It's crazy.
definitely. And that's why the
And it's not
BAIO
who we
is
want to be.
Yeah, it's not
no,
who we.
and that's why we are struggling with
Want to
self.
be.
We are trying to buy ourselves. We're trying to put this on to say this is us. And again, this is not just here. This is there too. So it's like whether we like it or not, our ancestors still built the infrastructure of America. We
Yeah,
were the backbone of this economy. So the same thing that we had and did this, we can do there. But just like trying to destroy us here, they're trying to destroy there also because they still are behind the scenes in a lot of places,
oh, for
but
sure.
because they need them. But it's like if we all, like she said, start banding together and building something. And one of the brothers on in the BAIO, he made a comment and he said, because I guess some people didn't like something one of the gentlemen said, and they said, "Well, I can't be a part of this because of so and so."
Because
It's
it's
not a
voluntary
perfect
choice.
world. We will not always agree. We will not always get along, and that's fine. but we will still keep moving forward. You know, it's like, okay, so that's not gonna happen. That's only in a perfect world. But we will disagree. Some things you won't like. It's like, okay, but still keep building.
I
But
mean,
this is an organization, this is something that is much larger than yourself, and you can
exactly.
join hands with somebody who is like minded. And if there's nobody around you that you can talk to about these things, at least you have sisters and brothers throughout this nation, you know, that you can talk to, and you know they can kind of help you maneuver through, because it's like this is a foreign concept to a lot of people. You know, you see how much backlash the BAIO gets,
Oh,
and it's
absolutely.
more from people who look like us, you know, but it's like you get a lot of it.
Our biggest problem is us. I'm like, some people worry about, oh, what if the white man goes and destroy it? I'm like, hell, we doing that now by not even attempting to do anything.
Right,
Like
just sitting here.
before it even gets started, because we fight each other so much. So I'd rather die trying. I don't care. I'd rather die trying and fight for
And
something.
I,
They'll be the main one to come over and live once we get everything set
Oh,
up.
absolutely.
Oh my goodness. Let us nation and start build some homes, have some infrastructure. They'll be the first. Yeah, man, I was for it the whole time. Oh,
yeah, exactly. But you
our
right.
fence
You
riders.
know
Let me
they'll
just
always
tell
be
you,
there because
sisters, our fence riders. They're all looking, being naysayers. As soon as something happens
They
where
jump
it's
right on
looking good and shown to be successful, oh yeah, man, I was couldn't, that time, the time wasn't right, you know. So
that'll always be there,
we
right?
can be we can be the pioneer. We'll do.
I mean, it's amazing the excuses they make. They're like, well, didn't Liberia try this? It didn't work. I'm like, if anything, that's even more reason to do it. Because if nothing else, you can learn from what Liberia did. You can
But
learn
there
from.
will always be those who will say that didn't work, that didn't work. That was going on during every other movement that took place in
Right.
America, in Haiti, in Africa, you know, and it's like, but it still went forward and it did get some progression. Something did happen out of it, you know,
Just
so
learn from that and do it better next time. Figure out what they did wrong and correct it and make it happen. Like, what does that mean? We just give up and die? Like, really? Like, what are we gonna? What's the alternative? Stay
right,
here and constantly working with someone else, or yeah, you can build your own business and do this, but it's just you. It's you individually, and you'll never be, united as a community to build something even greater than that. So I'm like, no,
definitely.
you gotta
No.
think bigger than this. It's
All
not
right,
about.
sisters, this cat, I'm gonna go ahead and join out of the conversation.
Oh yeah,
So
no problem.
anybody, BAIO, link hands with something larger than yourself. If you know, just for those who are listening. But I'll talk to you sisters later. I have
All
to
right. Take
join.
care, Kara.
Alrighty, thank
Thanks
you.
for joining us. All right, yeah. I know you need to leave soon too, then, and that's fine because I have some home construction projects to work on.
Sister, I would just like to say something in closing.
Hmm.
Um, with our audience, I don't know who is listening to that. I would say, the sense of community, 70s, the late 70s. And
Hmm.
I'm not saying things for, we were poor. I remember, eating the mayonnaise sandwiches and drinking the sugar. But,
Hmm.
we had family, these kids that would get out and from morning to evening time. A lot of us, our families are isolated. I kind of
Oh
wish
my
the
goodness.
sister was still could kind of attest to this. Families are isolated. We're scared to let our kids play with certain type of families because of the influences kids are seeing, and
Right.
those influences back to our children. And so the quicker we join and meet up, with us from the BAIO and to you know close proximity. I would
Absolutely.
say that because we need one another. We
Yeah.
really our children need to see this type of interaction, this love, and love and hip hop catty type of stuff
Oh my goodness.
nowadays. It's just so horrible. Sisterhood and the brotherhood and the love. That's everybody needs love. But I'll tell you, women, um, family, husband, wives with little kids, really hurting right now because we don't other families with
Mm-hmm.
kids. And so see that this is how men and women function together. This is
Right.
your auntie, this is they care about you. This is how you interact with this
Right.
person. Yes, I know I've been on Facebook. I have some of these so-called conscious people, and I'm gonna tell you, some people do not know how to relate to sex unless it's sexual,
Oh, geez.
and that
Oh my
is a
goodness.
shame. We
Oh
have
no,
lost
no.
our sense of brother and sister. I'm looking for I think I've sent a shout out from the one or two comrades state. I'm hoping that we can get together. But I will tell you, look at it, is if they can get with, or if you don't test of somebody they would hit, then they ain't you. And I'm gonna tell you, that's not gonna work. We're lines, not fine behinds. And so we need to keep that, we need to keep the nation building focus down for years. And I'm telling you, I was losing my faith, hope that those of us we can start to do our meet and greets and see what we can. I don't I want to meet. I want to embrace people, embrace each other together, and not just this cyber world.
Oh
I'm
my
not
goodness.
liking the cyber world, sister.
No, no, I'm not liking it either. It's actually quite like now it's depressing for me to even scroll through my Facebook. I'm like, I can't even anymore. And that's what I particularly like about the BIO, because all the messages are positive. All the messages about building, about meeting up with people in your state chapter, about communicating and sharing ideas. So it's all on the positive upswing. I'm like, this is what I need. Like, it was just a breath of fresh air to see that. So, yeah, yeah, this is where I need to be. All this
Awesome.
other stuff, so yeah, but no, definitely. So, well, thank you for your time, Enil. I really, really, really appreciate it. We're gonna try to do this at least once a week, and I'll try to change up the girls who join. We can do it individually or multiple, whatever works for you guys. And thank you for being so patient. I know it's been tons of messages back and forth this week trying to coordinate this. I'm happy to finally have done it. Now I can be done with that. But yeah, so those of you who are out there listening, those of you who hear this later, please, if you are interested in land and getting out of America and you understand the concept of land infrastructure and nationhood, and that is what the Black agenda is, that is what Black people need to control their own environment, to have control of their own politics, to their own economy, then please, you may join the BAIO. It's BAIO Afrikstan, AFRIKSTAN 5.ning.com. I added the website to the description box, so just click on the link and you will be in the fold. You'll be in the family if you join. If you interested in
I'm
staying,
this thing if I could.
I'm sorry.
Um, Say thank you too. I want to acknowledge Sister Bell because show not easy, in this busy world, and take time. You've taken time out of your busy schedule. I appreciate it. Get it with sister. You've gotten us together, and sometimes it can hats, but you did a really good job, and I leadership.
All right, thank you. I'm trying to get everyone together, but we'll work it out. We'll work it out. I'm motivated to do it with you guys. If it was any other group of people, I would have been through in a flag like, forget this. But with you guys and all our different time zones, I'm more than willing to do this. So this is going to be a real sisterhood for us.
Right.
So this is good. All right, well, have a good evening, and thank you so much for joining in. I really appreciate it.
Well, thank you for having me, and I look forward to speaking with everyone and meeting with you sister next week.
Yes, of course. All right. Let you have a good night. Bye.
Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am.